मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, family care and paternity leave reduced. 66 businesses shut down due to COVID-19. And airline rejects inhumane treatment allegations.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
Family care leave and paternity leave have been reduced from 5 to 2 days after an Employment Relations Amendment Bill was passed in Parliament this afternoon. Attorney General Said Qayyum, in tabling the bill, confirmed that the 2 leave provisions will be reduced from the current 5 days to 2 days during the COVID-19 period.
The reduced leave entitlements come into effect once signed off by the President. But anyone who's taken their 5 days of family care leave and paternity leave will not be penalized.
If somebody has already taken 5 days family care leave, just because it's now been reduced to 2 does not mean they have to pay back for the 3 days. That's gone. They've taken it, that's fine. Workers who have used at least 2 days of family care leave or paternity leave will not be able to claim an added 2 days during the COVID-19 period or added 3 days.
Where is the government in this? Where is the budget that we can source to help some of these entities directly, including businesses? And I think government doesn't have that space. And this is what Mr.
Said Qayyum says the amendment will classify COVID-19 as an act of God and provide clarity on the duties of employers.
The lack of clarity on whether pandemics constitute an act of God results in employer and worker uncertainty as to whether the duty to provide work continues during the COVID-19 period. Employers will also bear the burden of paying their workers despite COVID-19, which prevented them providing the work in the first place.
For the period identified as the COVID-19 period, we'll assist businesses in restructuring the way that they actually operate and control their overheads, etc., and basically for survival.
The 5-day entitlements return once the COVID-19 period ends. This will be decided by the Minister for Employment after consultations with the Ministry of Health, the Prime Minister's Office, other ministries and the Reserve Bank of Fiji. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
The impact of the COVID-19 crisis in the country has forced 66 businesses that are suffering the consequences of economic fallout to close down. The Minister for Local Government highlighted that a survey conducted by various municipalities shows that most of these businesses are restaurants and liquor shops that depend mostly on the disposable income of Fijians and the tourism industry. Koroi Tandalala reports.
The local government minister has warned that Fijian businesses should brace for further impacts of COVID-19.
It is clear that we must prepare for a very different picture for the remainder of 2020. Fijian businesses are already feeling the impacts. 25 businesses in Suva, 14 businesses in Nosori, 16 businesses in Lambasa, 7 businesses in Lotoka and 4 businesses in Nendi have closed down due to COVID-19 to date.
However, the minister is hopeful that reforming business licensing can help improve the investment climate.
There were a total of 15,069 business licenses issued from 1st January to 31st March 2020 compared to 14,121 business licenses issued over the same period in 2019.
I think it is the first step, Mr. Speaker, to addressing this very serious issue, because if we want to attract foreign investment, foreign investors, the first thing they are going to look at is these benchmark indices, from international organizations.
Kumar says despite these virus, Fiji's reputation as a destination for investors and business should continue to improve, and the business license reform will strengthen Fiji's status as the hub of the Pacific. Kuritandulala, FBC News.
A parliamentary debate on amendments to the Legal Practitioners Act turned towards the judiciary for a brief moment this afternoon. Opposition MP Professor Biman Prasad claimed there was controversy surrounding the recent decisions of various courts. However, Minister for Justice Said Qayyum quickly shot this down.
The amendment was to change the composition of the Board of Legal Education, but Professor Biman's speech took a different turn.
And I want to raise this. There's been significant comment about the way in which the acting Chief Justice, for example, has reversed decisions by magistrates and another judge and about curfew breakers. It is clear that these decisions are controversial.
You start talking about the judiciary, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, if he read those judgments, then he would see the anomalies that exist, and he would not have the ability to raise those issues because he doesn't have the competency to be able to look at the ratios in those cases and how the Honourable Chief Justice has held those matters not to be appropriate law.
But let me just...
Following Prasad's reference to court decisions on breaches of curfew and social gathering, Syed Qayyum questioned whether the NFP leader had any knowledge of the decisions.
He talked about cases, he has not read those cases in full. That's the problem. I have read those cases. That's why I can talk about those cases. It's my job to read those cases. And if he wanted to read that, the cases are available. Those cases are available, but he has not read it.
Professor Biman also suggested that the Fiji Law Society be involved in the Legal Education Board since it represents lawyers.
I would say that a representative of the Fiji Law Society should be on the board, and that should be stipulated in the law itself.
We know that the Law Society appoints people a lot of the times on political basis.
Those in favour say aye.
Aye. Meanwhile, the initial amendment itself was passed by acclamation in Parliament. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
Fiji Airways has today rejected any suggestion that staff who were terminated on Monday were treated in an inhumane manner. A number of posts on social media claim that a few cabin crew were told to leave the Fiji Airways premises immediately after they received their termination letters. There were further claims that a security guard had to inform some cabin crew that they were terminated and had to vacate the premises. Responding to queries from FBC News, Airline Chief Executive Andre Fillion said the decision was communicated to all affected staff on the same day, wherever they may have been at the time, including at the Fiji Airways Aviation Academy and other company premises. According to Fillion, where possible, there was a one-on-one discussion with those affected, and staff who were at home or on leave were sent a letter via email followed by a phone call. He says they regret that there will be some people who will feel aggrieved by the decision and the manner in which it was communicated. The police commissioner says the overall crime rate has fallen in the past few months. Brigadier General Sithiven Ngilio says serious crime and crimes against women and children have decreased. However, he says the fight against drugs continues and the force is continuing with its raids. Ngilio highlighted the officers are now utilizing body cameras during raids as a lot of accusations were being made against them in the past.
Because we've seen over time the first thing that people who are raided do is go and lodge a report or run to the media that we were heavy-handed in the way we raided their properties. So that's why we've got body cams now. We've employed drones.
Commissioner Ngilio says they have collected a lot of information regarding drugs over the past few years. He adds they are looking at acquiring various software to process the information quickly, as currently they are doing it manually. Up ahead, Salah Mara pleads not guilty to charges. And demand for planting materials increase.
Radio Fiji 1 Nandomo Iviti.
Former Fijian ambassador and permanent secretary for Foreign Affairs Salah Mara has pleaded not guilty to 2 charges laid against him. Mara has been charged by FICAC with 1 count each of disobedience of lawful order and giving false or misleading information. FICAC State Counsel informed the court that there were partial admissions in Mara's caution interview and that prosecution will be relying on that. In a related matter, Mara is charged with 1 count each of obtaining a financial advantage and causing a loss. He is alleged to have caused payments to be made to himself from the Washington Embassy amounting to Fijian $38,481.17 between September 2016 and October 2017, while serving as the Fijian ambassador to the United States of America. Both cases were adjourned to 30th June to fix a hearing date. The Pacific community has received requests from 8 island countries, including Fiji, for plant tissue culture materials and vegetable seeds following the impacts of COVID-19 and Tropical Cyclone Harold. The community expects more requests in the coming months. Sainian Imboila reports.
The handing over of these materials is part of the Seeds for Life project by the Pacific community.
A total of 166,000 kilograms of vegetable seeds and over 10,000 tissue culture seedlings, and these requests have come from our members to CPACT. Of course, we are expecting much more.
Agriculture Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says the assistance will build resilience in the sector and also boost food security.
Harold, where agriculture sector suffered the largest value of loss, about $35.9 million of loss of our output.
The Australian and the New Zealand government says their contribution towards the project aims to strengthen their support for all Pacific communities.
And I hope that our continued funding and partnership, Australia and New Zealand, through initiatives like this, play an effective role in addressing the needs of the region. And can I just echo what Jonathan said as well?
Our support for this project, which is about 4.8 million New Zealand dollars or $6.6 million in Fijian dollars, began in February this year and was immediately thrown into COVID-19 response with food and nutrition security impacts.
The Agriculture Ministry will begin the second round of seeds distribution soon. Sainian Imboila, FBC News.
Yandua Tamba Iguana Sanctuary on Yandua Island in Boa has been declared a protected area. It contains one of the best remaining stands of tropical dry forest in the Pacific, along with the largest and only secure population of Fiji's crested iguana species. Eleanor Tarangaiviu has the details.
This tropical dry forest on Yandua Tamba Island, the country's first iguana sanctuary, is home to 12,000 of the 13,000 endemic Fijian crested iguana population in Fiji.
The iguanas live and survive on the vegetation on the island. If that is affected, they are affected.
The iguana sanctuary is managed by the National Trust of Fiji and has a ranger overlooking the protection of the iguana species that live there.
No tourists or visitors are allowed on Yandua Tamba Island. It is purely a sanctuary and only for research.
Through the recently launched National Biodiversity and Strategic Plan 2020, Yandua Tamba Island has been declared a protected area.
There's not supposed to be any kind of cultivation. There's not supposed to be any kind of activity there, other than just living that at the total pure natural state.
This will now mean a cooperation to further enhance the protection of the sanctuary and the iguana species.
We want to see how we could work with Natural Trust of Fiji and probably write proposal and get some external money to further reinforce the supervision, the protection and security of that place.
The Fijian crested iguana is one of 4 iguana species endemic to Fiji that's on the IUCN's red list for being endangered. Eleanor Turangaiviu, FBC News.
Sustaining the high tempo of operations was a worry for Police Commissioner Brigadier General Sithiven Ngilio. The force today received 500 litres of hand sanitizers from Paradise Beverages, which will help the force to effectively carry out operations. Ngilio says the sanitizers will make their operations more robust in terms of flexibility, as now they will not have to carry big water tanks. He highlighted the assistance is timely.
It makes us more robust in our deployments. As you understand, or if you look at pictures that were coming out, we had to go and buy water tanks so that we could put it at our checkpoints, and soap so they could wash their hands. But with this, it makes us quickly, we'll be able to deploy more quickly.
So from us, we say thank you very much for that. We all feel very safe, and we hope that our small offering of 500 litres of sanitizer will go some way to making your frontline workers feel a bit safe in their job as well.
Fiji has received 7,500 face masks from the Chinese government to ensure health and safety of Fijians at workplaces. Minister for Employment Pravin Kumar says the handover is timely. He says the handover marks another milestone in both countries' relationship where the engagement has been progressive.
The Fijian government has gained a lot in terms of technical assistance, professional development and capacity building programs from the People's Republic of China. This much needed assistance does not only benefit our government, but it will assist the Fijian community as a whole.
Whitney joins you now with business.
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up in business tonight, Vote City Flea Market benefits laid off staff. And no changes to agreements, say new owners of Bumblebee. Stay with us.
My name is Neha and I'm from Kadavi. And Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Fijians in Nadi who have lost their livelihood due to the COVID-19 pandemic have found some hope with the opening of a new flea market. Vote City has proven popular with families selling a range of items. Felipe Nakaso has the details.
This flea market has given these sellers another chance to earn a living for their families.
We have been laid off as of the 6th of April, and we're just here to support our family and whatever that we have to support them, especially during this difficult time of the crisis.
Kurundondoa has been working in the tourism industry for the past 20 years, but the recent layoff did not discourage him. Similar sentiments were shared by Tsosefa Yangomate, a former nightclub bouncer who is now selling food at the market.
Yeah, it's been very good. We've been putting it up on social media and the feedback we've been getting is positive, all positive. So we know that the public, they really like this.
While many are selling various items to meet their daily needs, a church youth group has been selling at the stalls in order to assist families who are in need.
We come and just sell on Saturdays, and whatever we get that to help out other families that face difficulties in this time of COVID-19.
The property is owned by a church that has allowed the flea market to operate during this pandemic. Philip Naikaso, FBC News.
More than 10,000 employers have been covered in the 2020 nationwide workplace survey on the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The survey began on the 13th of this month and will canvass all 24,000 businesses and corporate entities registered with the Employment Ministry. Minister responsible Pravin Kumar, while updating Parliament about the survey, called on employers to think of how to reconfigure their businesses in light of the COVID-19.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues and current medical projections do not give us a concrete timeline, we need to continue to rethink how we do business and to create lines of employment that work within the health realities and guidelines.
The new owners of Bumblebee have assured that there will be no changes made to the agreement between the former owners and the Pacific Fishing Company. Bumblebee sold its assets late last year and it's now owned by Fong Chung Formosa Fishery Company. Economy Minister A.S. Said Kium says a meeting is scheduled between the new executives and PEFCO, which will take place once the COVID-19 related restrictions are eased. Sayed Kium says Bumblebee purchases only small volumes of albacore from local fleets.
As a backup, if you like, Mr. Speaker, sir, given the dearth of albacore, the PEFCO and Bumblebee are also currently negotiating the processing of skipjack tuna, which is more readily available in order to meet its annual supply of processed tuna loins. PEFCO is also attempting to get more skipjack for its own production itself, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Gary from HFC Bank joins us now with the latest from the stock market.
Looking at the latest in the currency market, the US dollar held on to gains as rising Sino-US tension put pressure on the Chinese yuan. Yuan, which is a barometer of US-China relations, hit a record low of 7.19 per dollar in offshore trade overnight. Elsewhere, the US dollar was marginally firmer against the Japanese yen and a touch weaker on the euro and pound. The Aussie and Kiwi held on to multi-week highs. This was in hopes that the world economy is past the worst of the coronavirus shock, even if it takes many more months to fully recover. Gold prices are rising as stimulus measures to limit the economic damage have supported gold, which is often considered a hedge against inflation and currency debasement. Tomorrow morning, we expect some very important data from the US on their first quarter GDP and jobless claims. So let's see how that will affect our major currencies. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Turning to today's exchange rates as set this morning, the Fiji dollar showed a gain on the Chinese yuan and the Aussie dollar, both currencies suffering as the US dollar gained strongly thanks to the Chinese-US tension. However, the Sangomoli showed a decline against the other currencies we cover. Onto the commodities market, the price of crude oil fell to under $32 per barrel. Gold rose to close at $1,713 per ounce, and silver closed up at $17.29 per ounce. That's it from business tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Thank you, Whitney, and good evening in sports tonight. Skipper Cup, an option for Sevens players. And 100th NRL game for Blake. This and more coming up.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Fiji Sevens head coach Gareth Baber will be keeping an eye out for a few players when the Skipper Cup resumes. With all sporting events on hold during the current pandemic, the only rugby competition with wheels in motion for a scheduled return is the Skipper Cup, which many Sevens players will use to get some game time. Caroline Itavi reports.
Gareth Baber says he has some players in mind who will join the training squad and play in the Skipper Cup.
There are still the players who are contracted, and then there's a wider group who we're looking at potentially moving forward to come in and train with the squad, but also then playing the Skipper Cup, hopefully, and potentially any Sevens tournaments we have here in Fiji.
Fijiana Sevens head coach Sayasi Fuli is hopeful that by next week they can adjust their training program.
And set up the plan in conjunction of the Skipper Cup competition that is coming up. Hopefully the Fiji Rugby Union can introduce plans such as Sevens window where they can play and continue to play Sevens.
But most of the Sevens players are already members of provincial teams, both female and male. And I think the provincial teams will welcome them should they be available to play for their different provincial teams.
The FRU says they've picked July 11th as a tentative date to kickstart the Skipper Cup during a board meeting earlier this week. Caroline Itavi, FBC Sports.
A major change could be on the way for Super Rugby Aotearoa as New Zealand Rugby looks to ensure games are as entertaining as possible when competition resumes next month. An NRL-style Golden Point concept could be introduced to the revised competition in the hope that no games end in a draw. Tonight's NRL match will be a special one for Fiji Mbati player Wanga Blake. The 25-year-old Fiji-born centre who moved to Australia when he was only 9 will play his 100th NRL game tonight. The Fiji Football Association is planning to reduce the number of matches scheduled for the 2020 season when local competitions resume. It says this is a result of the shortened calendar they will be working with, as well as the availability of venues. Tale Materakula has more.
Fiji FA met earlier this week to revise their 2020 calendar.
We have checked the number of commitments we have, and then we have revised the calendar on what we can hold, what competitions we cannot hold.
Yusuf says cutting down the number of games is top of the agenda.
Reduction in number of games are planned, except for the plan that will be put forward before the board will be the Premier League will continue as normal, possibly finishing late November. But the other competitions will be slashed to lesser games.
Meanwhile, Sports Commission Chair Peter Maisy says all contact sports will need to adapt to the new norm if games resume.
There's a lot of new rules in place. You can't shower in facilities, you have to go home to shower, and you can't share any facilities. balls that are used have to be washed and cleaned after every half game or quarter game. So there's going to be a change.
Apart from the VPL, the Vodafone Senior League, Vodafone Senior Women's League and the Boys and Girls Under 16 and 19s League are planned to have their number of matches reduced. This is still in the planning phase and will be finalized by the Fiji FA board in their meeting on June 6th in Nandi. Tali Materkula, FBC Sports.
That's it from sports tonight. Coming up in new media, a review of the camera on Samsung's Galaxy A01. This and more after the break.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
And Kritika joins you now with weather.
Cloudy skies and very light showers marked the day across Fiji. In the west, there were moments of sunshine, but it was generally cloudy and of course, cool. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, it was generally overcast with some light rain. And up north, much the same, some scattered light showers under mainly cloudy skies. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots and moderate to rough swells. Turning to the tides, the next high tide is at 11:18 tonight, followed by low tide at 5:11 tomorrow morning, and sunrise at 6:29 in the morning, of course. For tomorrow, after a cool night, we can expect cloudy skies and a chance of showers across the nation. Those of you in Vanuatu and Taveuni might possibly experience a thunderstorm. Looking towards the weekend, skies should clear somewhat, giving way to some sunshine. And that's the weather for now. Back to Jackie.
In Fijian Pulse tonight, we ask what actions should be taken against businesses who continue to hike food prices illegally.
We appreciate what the farmers are doing. The vegetable farmers, they're selling at reasonable price. And why can't the supermarket?
Business should think of people trying to make ends meet before increasing prices.
The Consumer Council should really look into this. The fact that they still increase it after numerous complaints, I think they should do a lot about it.
Government is doing what it can, but the business should consider the hard time we are facing.
I think they should be investigated and taken to court.
In the world of the weird and the wonderful, you could easily spend days, weeks even, exploring this palace in Turkey. Recapping the main stories for tonight, family care and paternity leave reduced. 66 businesses shut down due to COVID-19. And airline rejects inhumane treatment allegations. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question we're asking: is Fiji facing a major problem with animal abuse? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day comes all the way from Waitambu, Taveuni. The sunrise was captured by Antonio Kawakawa. Absolutely beautiful. And you can send us newsworthy pictures to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj. Share it with us on our FBC News Facebook page and our FBC News Twitter page at FBC_news, or you can simply hashtag FBC News. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, from the team and I, stay safe. Modamanda.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.